Γεια σας. Τώρα, ελληνικά, αγγλικά δεν ξέρω, γιατί μισή μιλάμε ελληνικά, μισά αγγλικά. Ας αρχίσουμε ελληνικά και θα δούμε μετά. Θα είμαι πολύ γρήγορος για να κερδίσουμε τον χρόνο που έχουμε και για να μιλήσει ο κύριος Όλα. Ο Roberto Olla είναι ο εκτελεστικός διευθυντής του Eurimages. Νομίζω ότι όλοι σας ξέρετε εδώ μέσα τι είναι το Eurimages. Είναι ένα μέρος του Συμβουλίου της Ευρώπης, το οποίο ασχολείται με υποστήριξη οικονομική ταινιών και προγραμμάτων audiovisual γενικά. Ο Roberto Olla έχει ένα background, από το 2008 είναι επικεφαλής του Eurimages. Έχει ένα background σαν σπουδές δικηγορικές με το δίκαιο για τα μέσα ενημέρωσης. Έχει συνεργαστεί με το πρόγραμμα Media, μετά έχει κάνει σπουδές στη Φλωρεντία επίσης, πέρασε από το πρόγραμμα Media, μετά πέρασε στο Eurimages, όπου άρχισε από project manager, από πολύ χαμηλά θα έλεγα, και ανέβηκε όλη τη σκάλα μέχρι πάνω. Επομένως έχει ένα πολύ καλό background, ένα καλό background πάνω σε αυτό με το οποίο ασχολείται. Η παρουσία του εδώ για μας είναι πολύ σημαντική, όχι μόνο για αυτό που είναι και για αυτό που έχει γίνει για τις ελληνικές ταινίες. Θα σας πει ο ίδιος ποια είναι η ιστορία των ελληνικών ταινιών εκεί από τότε που έχει αρχίσει να πηγαίνουν οι ελληνικές ταινίες στο Eurimages, αλλά ιδιαίτερα για όσους είστε εσείς σήμερα το πρωί εδώ, θα είδατε ότι υπήρξε ένας διάλογος με τον κύριο Μπράμο κτλ. Πάνω σε ένα θέμα που νομίζω ότι καίει όλο τον κόσμο του κινηματογράφου. Σχετικά τι γίνεται με την ΕΡΤ, με τη χρηματοδότηση, η οποία έχει άμεση σχέση με το Eurimages, γιατί υπάρχουν ταινίες που μπλοκάρονται. Επομένως, πέφτει πολύ καλά να ακούσουμε τι μπορεί να κάνει, και μάλιστα του κάνω μια ερώτηση επίσης προβοκατέα κάπως, τι μέσα σε αυτό το context που υπάρχει, μέσα σε αυτό το πλαίσιο, τι μπορεί να περιμένει κανείς από το Eurimages απέναντι στον ελληνικό κινηματογράφο. Βεβαίως, όπως είπε και ο Πάνος το πρωί που μιλάει, πρέπει και εμείς να κάνουμε πράγματα, δεν είναι να περιμένουμε από τους ξένους να κάνουν για μας. Εμείς κάνουμε, τουλάχιστον και με αυτό το πράγμα που κάνουμε εδώ πέρα, προσπαθώντας να ξυπνήσουμε τα πράγματα και να πετύχουμε κάποιες δεσμεύσεις. Κάτι πετύχαμε το πρωί. Επομένως, αυτή θα ήταν η ερώτηση που νομίζω θα ενδιαφέρει και όλους, πέρα από την παρουσίαση του Eurimages, του προγράμματος, τι έχουν κάνει οι ελληνικές ταινίες, πώς μπορεί να υπάρχει μια συνεργασία μαζί με το Eurimages, ώστε να υποφεληθεί ο ελληνικός κινηματογράφος το περισσότερο που μπορεί σε αυτές τις συνθήκες που είναι ιδιαίτερα δύσκολες. Τίποτα άλλο παραπάνω. Okay, you want to start? We'll give them the PowerPoint. We give them the signal for the PowerPoint.
I think we can start with the PowerPoint.
Okay. Μπορούμε να έχουμε το PowerPoint, παρακαλώ, δηλαδή αντί αυτό να μπει το PowerPoint για τον κύριο. Και μετά θα υπάρξουν ερωτήσεις-απαντήσεις, βέβαια. Okay.
Thank you, Alexis, and thank you for inviting me here. I'm very happy to be in Greece. This is not my first time. I think it's the third or fourth time. I feel there is a lot of expectations around my presence here. I hope I won't disappoint any of you. I'll do my best. Alexis asked me to prepare a PowerPoint presentation. It would be easier for you to follow on the general features and aspects of Eurimages. So I will not go into details at this level on Eurimages, because at 6:30, I think, there will be a more in-depth analysis of how we work. It's a kind of a workshop reserved for young producers, if I understood it right. Of course, feel free to ask any question if you do not understand, if you want to comment, and if you disagree, actually even more so, if you disagree, do feel free. You don't have to wait until the end of the PowerPoint presentation. We can actually interact, and I wish we could do that instead of being a unilateral thing. I'll try to answer your question, what can Eurimages do for the Greek film community? I will do it at a later stage. So the idea was to tell you why Eurimages was established and how this has evolved. Jacques previously was talking about EAVE that was established in 1988. Many things in Europe happened during that year. I'm not sure, I think it was the European Year of Cinema. The European Union often decides that this is the year of the orange or of the cinema and so on, and things are invented and are discussed about that topic. In the late 80s, somebody was talking about this previously, the European film market did not exist. Basically, there were only national markets, the Greek, the Italian, the German, the French, the Dutch, and so on. And there were very few co-productions made. And on top of that, films would not circulate from one country to the other. The only films that were circulating were essentially the American films. So for purely, and I underline this, for purely economic reasons in the 80s, the European Union at that time didn't have any competence in the cultural field, decided to put together a certain number of initiatives that would put professionals coming from different countries together, work together, and create a European audiovisual space, a European market for cinema. So at the beginning, the objective of the European institutions' intervention in the market was purely economic. Eurimages is something different. Eurimages was born in 88 because in the media program that was created during those years, they were unable to agree whether the media program should intervene in the production sector or no. And there were, I think, 3 countries at that time that opposed the idea that the media program should be intervening in the production sector. That was the UK, the Netherlands, and Germany. Germany, for very legal reasons, the cultural competence belongs to the Länder and not to the federal state, and therefore the country could not commit to intervene a federal state in the cultural sector. So in Europe, as you know, if you cannot do something within a certain framework and you want to do it anyway, you create a different legal framework and you do it. And that's exactly what France did. France did not succeed at having production in the media program. They went within the European Commission, they went to the Council of Europe, and they created Eurimages. That's why media is in the Commission and Eurimages is in the Council of Europe. That's the historical reason. The Council of Europe has no competence whatsoever in economic matters. The Council of Europe deals essentially with human rights, social affairs, and culture. So the media program deals with the industrial part of the audiovisual sector, and Eurimages deals with its cultural and freedom of expression part of it. Eurimages has never had an economic objective, ever. And you see that this impact, this different approach, impacts the way we actually select films. For some funny reason, my last sentence disappears. Well, I can tell you all about it. You mean she has to follow you? Sorry? No, I can do it myself. Thank you. The objectives of Eurimages at the beginning were linked to this idea of reinforcing Europe as a competitor towards the competition coming from the US. Now, even though we are not, in Eurimages, an economic fund, but we were part of this bigger picture, according to which EAVE, media program, Eurimages, European Audiovisual Observatory, and all the other institutions should have created an alternative, a competition, a wall against the American invasion. Now, we know the story, because after 25 years, the American invasion is still there. And if you take the first 20 films in the box office all over Europe, 18 are Americans. So we still do not make films in Europe that are successful as the American films are. Now we have the national comedies in Italy we have the panettone, the Christmas comedies, and they are very successful. In Germany they have a similar thing, and they of course are successful. However, the films that we make together from a box office point of view still have a hard time. Now, Eurimages started in this picture, you know, fighting the Americans, and has evolved, luckily, and we do not, the Americans are not a problem anymore. We make today in Europe, in the European Union, we make twice as many films as the Americans do. We make around 1,300 films, and the Americans make 670, more or less. So what we are discussing now since years in Europe, especially in Eurimages, is not quantity, but quality, meaning that for us, what it is important is making possible for the European citizens to have the choice of several types of films. Some of them can be very niche, some of them can be maybe a little bit more popular, but the idea behind is not making sure that few producers there make very strong commercial European films. That was the origin of the intervention of the European Union in the audiovisual sector. It's certainly not the objective today. So the objective of Eurimages has evolved in time, and we are not there to reinforce producers. We are there to finance projects and to make sure that pluralism and diversity is defended. Now, what? That's right. In the US, I think the latest information I have is 670 films in the US. All confused, studio and independent films. And in the European Union, I'm not talking about the greater Europe. So the statistics of the observatory are based often on the European Union numbers. The latest numbers is 1,300 and something. So we make twice as many, more or less. I think India is the second producer in the world. I think they produce something like between 900 and 1,000 films per year. Let's move to Eurimages, what we do, how we work in a nutshell. We have 36 member states, so this goes well beyond the European Union, as you can imagine. So we have all the Balkans, Albania included, Serbia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Macedonia. We do not have Montenegro yet, but it's going to come soon. This is one of the countries that is lined up. Russia, Turkey, Georgia are part of Eurimages. So this is the greater Europe. We have only 25 million euros budget. That's why I want to underline the fact that it's not an economic fund. 25 million euros per year for 36 countries, it's symbolic, as you can understand. It is maybe the budget for the promotion of a big movie in America. For the promotion, not for the production. So what we are trying to do is essentially not to make competitions to the studio films, the American films. What we are trying to do is to help films that the market alone cannot produce because they are too difficult, too controversial, too innovative, creatively, or from the dramaturgical side or the story as such, to be made and therefore to be seen. The value that we are protecting here is not is not success, but is the diversity, the possibility that European citizens can access a larger choice of films. That's called democracy. We have more or less 10% of overheads in Eurimages, and that is partly covered by the revenues generated by the film. I forgot to tell you that Eurimages does not give out subsidies. We give out soft loans. Soft loans means that the film reimburse if revenues are generated. If the project does not generate revenues, it becomes, after 10 years, more or less a subsidy. So from the revenues generated by the films, and I open parentheses, the difficult films, close, that we support, we can actually cover part of our overheads, and the rest is the interest the bank interest that we use to pay our overheads. So basically, the monies that come from the member states are never used to pay our overheads. So they don't pay my salary, they don't pay the photocopy machine, they don't pay the interpreters, they don't pay the readers that read our projects. These are overheads, and they are entirely covered by the revenues of the fund. So the money that we get from Greece, from Italy, from France, from Germany, goes straight to projects, to your projects. We have 4 programs: co-production, distribution of non-national European films. So that is only open for those countries that are member of Eurimages, that are not member of the media program. For instance, Turkey, a Turkish distributor cannot go to the media program and get financing for the distribution of a French film because Turkey is not part of the media program, but they are part of Eurimages, therefore they are eligible for distribution support. The same goes for exhibition. We work with Europa Cinema, like the media program, so the cinema theaters in those countries that are part of Eurimages, that are not part of the media program, can get financing from us for the European programming, clearly. And then we are helping some of the cinema theaters in these countries to roll out towards the digital technology, so they are slowly abandoning the analog technology and pass to the digital. But 90% more, even more so, 92% of the budget is reserved for co-production. We have a president. The president is Jobst Plog. Jobst Plog is a German with a big French background, but he's German. He was the president of Arte for years. He's been our president for 4 years now. We have a board of management. The board of management is composed by representative of the member states, and for Greece we have Alexis. So every country appoints a representative, and then there is a secretariat. That is the managing bodies, if you want, of the fund, that is based in Strasbourg, and I am the director, and I have 19 colleagues that with me work in Strasbourg. So who are we today? We are a fund that supports quality films. Now we can discuss for hours on what quality is, and I put it in entre guillemets, in inverted commas, because I can't find any other definition. When I say quality, I refer essentially at the work that is done both by the writer-director, if it is the same person or if it is a different person, and the producer. Jacques was talking about the creative producer before in the EAVE program. That's what most of our producers, the producers that come to Eurimages, are creative producers, are producers that work with the director and with the screenwriter from early stage in the project, and that gives this personal approach to the film. I could say Eurimages does not support entertainment. That's another way to put it. Some people say that Eurimages supports film d'auteur. If film d'auteur means you guys have a point of view that is ideological, that is aesthetic, that is telling a story, and you work together creatively to do that. If that means film d'auteur, Eurimages supports film d'auteur. So diversity and pluralism is what we are looking for. So a film that is good quality, meaning that is a fantastic script, but is not creative, meaning that is purely addressed to an audience, a larger audience, and maybe does not need us, meaning that may find financing in the market, is probably not our film. So the problem in Eurimages is defining if that film enters in that category or not, and Alexis can witness this. We have animated discussions about if it is a mainstream or not. What is important today in Eurimages, and this answers partly your question, Alexis, is that Eurimages has become a sort of a, I put it in a nice way, it's a catalyst for artistic and technical cooperation in the film sector. I can tell you in other words, Eurimages gives you the carrot. People run to get the carrot because the carrot is the money you need for making the film. By getting the carrot, you work together. And you keep on working together. Titus was saying this, establishing links, between producers that share the same vision of what cinema should be. And Eurimages is simply putting the carrot is simply putting a little money there. You guys are doing the work, and by doing the work, you get to know each other. By getting to know each other, speak the same production language, and the film. A co-produced film has to be understood by producers living in different countries, by the financiers living in different countries, different funds, different television. The film has the ability to circulate, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Not a European content. Eurimages does not support European content. Eurimages supports films that circulate. It can be very, very local. Jacques was saying, co-productions is a story, a national story that needs financing to be co-produced. It's partly that. Some of the stories also have linked with other countries, but we are not necessarily looking for Euro puddings, a bit of here, a bit of there, so Eurimages is happy. We're looking for creative, original stories. They can be a little village close to Thessaloniki, but the story is so universal that travels, and that's what we're looking for. Eurimages is also a brand, and it is so since, I would say, 5, 6, 7 years. A brand as a label, meaning both artistically and financially. We are supposed to be top financiers. We are supposed to arrive at the very end of the financing process. In reality, we are discovering that Eurimages arrives often right in the middle, because through Eurimages, the producers get other financing, because Eurimages reassures other financiers on the quality, both artistic and financial solidity of the project. This is somehow we are victim of our own success, because it is annoying for me seeing films that arrive at Eurimages they are only 50-55% confirmed in the financing, meaning that still 45% are missing, which means a big risk for us. But the producers are doing so not because they exhausted already all the opportunities of financing in other countries. They're doing so because they know that through us they have a better chance to get other financiers that are maybe more difficult, and that means that basically that film is not going to start shooting immediately. That means that the money I commit is not going to be spent within the next year, and that means that the court of auditors are going to be a pain in the neck to me, because no spending public money that is earmarked for a certain reason is bad management. So I have to find a way to help producers. They need this label for their extra financing and close the budget, and those that control what I do, the court of auditors, that make pressure. They tell me, you have 40 million euros in the bank, and you are asking next year for 24 more millions from the member states. Why don't you spend the money you got in the bank? And I cannot spend the money that I got in the bank because I cannot pay the producers until such time as they are fully financed. That's why ERT should be paying the films that they committed for, because if they don't pay, we cannot pay either. If that was not clear. Now, Eurimages projects should trigger both critical and audience acclaim. The question of the international circulation of European films. Now, what does that mean? It means that, of course, we are looking for quality. Of course, sometimes quality does not rhyme with audience. Sometimes, not necessarily so, but sometimes. But I need both. Don't get me wrong, we do not support mainstream, as we said before, but sometimes there are art house films, films that are, they have a point of view, they are more artistic, they actually have a larger distribution. And this is exactly those films that we need. Those films go to festivals, to major festivals, they win prizes. And when they win prizes, when I go to the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe with all the ambassadors from the member states that have no idea whatsoever what the film industry is, I need to tell them, this year in Cannes, Eurimages got the Palme d'Or with La vie d'Adèle of Abdulatif Kechiche. I can tell them Le Passé, the Asghar Farhadi, won the Best Actress and is going to be sold, has been sold in 50 countries, America included. So the money that you pay to us is well spent because not only we have critical acclaim, but it also circulates. So what I'm trying to say is that we are happy to have films like Michelangelo Framartino that Savina knows very well because it was in the laboratory in Torino. There's a wonderful film with no dialogues, and it's the relationship of man and nature, and the only dialogues is the wind and the sheeps in the background. That film is wonderful, and it was sold in 40 countries, which means that there is an intelligentsia all over the world that goes beyond the limited territory, the limited market for comedies, for instance. However, we are very happy to support Michelangelo Framartino, and we are very happy to support films like Abdulatif Kechiche or Michael Haneke or Schlendorf or Lars von Trier, not all the time. And artists like them that are, of course, known by the larger audience, and we can call them mainstream art house because they have a larger circulation. So I need a bit of both. I arrived in Eurimages more than 10 years ago, as Alexis was saying, but since 5 years I'm the director, and since I'm the director I try to change things that in my opinion were important, and as Alexis was saying before, I was not dropped from the top and landed in Eurimages and discover. I worked my way and I saw where the limits of the exercise were. So I tried to improve the system, and there are still a lot to be done, let me tell you. But this is what we have done. In the last 5 years, we moved from an entirely paper version process of submission of projects into an entirely paperless system. The only thing that we ask for the time being physically is copies of the DVDs, and for animation, some of the drawings, because it's very heavy to upload them and download them digitally. So today, the producers of 36 countries all over Europe submit electronically their applications. The experts from the countries access electronically the applications. The readers of the script access electronically the scripts and report back to us electronically. There is no one sheet of paper that is used today. And it's so far so good, working pretty well. There is a more transparent, in my opinion, decision-making process in the co-production working group. I open a little parenthesis and I try to tell you how it works. Can you imagine 36 experts sitting around a table, like the United Nations of cinema, trying to discuss about a project, whether the project is good or not, or whether we should be funding it, yes or no. 36, if you let the 36 talk once, it takes already a long time, but they want to clearly answer the provocations and the criticism that have been put forward, so it would be a never-ending story. So we cannot let them talk, all of them, and what we've done, like in the parliaments, the parliaments, the laws are not discussed in the plenary they vote. The laws are made in the parliamentary commissions, in the small groups. That's what we do in Eurimages. The 36 countries are gather 4 times a year in small groups of 8, sometimes 9 members. We draw the lots. So there are, representatives from the north, from the south, from the east. Otherwise, if we have all Scandinavians, we have only Lars von Trier, and if we have the south, we have only Nanni Moretti, and so on. So we have representatives from all over Europe, and those 8 or 9 members that sit in the co-production working group actually make the decisions. Until recently, the discussions were made orally. And, when you do a discussion orally, it's normal, you influence the others. And sometimes we can have affinities between people because we share the same point of view, because he's nice, and we can influence each other. And we wanted to avoid that. So we moved from an oral system into a written voting procedure, whereby the discussion is oral, clearly, about the project, and it lasts 25 minutes, and I'm the one who is measuring the time, and the bad guy who says stop, together with the president. And however, the voting happens in writing, so that people do not influence each other, and to make sure that everybody makes his or her own homework at home. This is a little tiny change that made a whole difference. And also, clearly, the countries that are involved in the project cannot vote, of course. But when I arrived as a director of Eurimages, the countries were still voting for their own project, which is absurd. It was like a banana republic. But we ended having, this more transparent decision-making process. And it's working, in my opinion, pretty well. The decision-making process, the whole decision-making process lasts 7 weeks. That is, from the moment in which you submit electronically your project and the moment in which I sign the letter saying, yes, you're being supported and you get 500,000 euros, or sorry, your project was not supported, there are 7 weeks. And I think this is the shortest we can make it in Europe, because there are different levels of decision-making process. There is our level at the Secretariat, there is the readers that need to read the script and make their own report, and the experts from the member states need to read the project at the same time, meet in one of the capitals in Europe and make a decision. This takes 7 weeks, sometimes 7 weeks and a half. 4 deadlines, and I think it's the most streamlined, as compared to the media program. It's a miracle, because the media program takes half a year minimum to get an answer. But the decision-making process is clearly very different. As I said before, we are using, this is something that I introduced, so we are using external independent script editors in the evaluation of the script. The script, and I'll say this later, is the cornerstone of the decision-making process in Eurimages. And the script is like a book. It's not mathematics, and you can have different opinions about the script. What I wanted to make sure when I became the director was that some of the experts would not manipulate the discussion by using a very personal opinion on the script to kill the project. Experts are human beings. They have sometimes their own agenda, and they also have to represent their own country. So they have to make sure that their own projects somehow get most of the attention, the highest attention possible. So sometimes some of the experts in the past were killing other projects by using a subjective point of view on the script in order to favor the project coming from their own countries. And, we can discuss hours whether a project is developed or not, whether the characters are well defined or not, whether the antagonist is actually sufficiently antagonist to create suspense or not, because it's not mathematics. And since I witnessed this, and I thought that I was hearing everything and the contrary of it for projects, I thought we need to have an independent point of view purely on the script. So what we are using, the external readers that we're using are not the readers that the media program uses for their project. The media program uses what they call experts. They look at the budget, look at the marketing, look at the cast and all that. In Eurimages, we don't do that. The readers only have the script, the note of intention of the director, and the synopsis. And that's it. They don't have the budget. They don't even have the profile of the film director. They do not know the cast. They do not know anything. They look at the script and they tell us what they think about the script. There is clearly a grid that has to be followed with classic questions concerning the level of development and the quality of the dialogue, the dramaturgical part of it, and the potential of the film to circulate internationally, not from a distribution point of view, but from the content. Is the message clear? Is that conveyed clearly? Does that travel from that point of view? Is that understandable from audiences beyond the director's or writer's country? The readers have proved to be incredibly useful. They raised, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, they raised the quality of the discussion immensely because it pushed the experts to question their own point of view. So it's they read the script and then they read the readers' comments, and there are 2 readers per project, and that's it makes you think about looking at the script from another point of view, and through with that background you can go into the working group and discuss with the other colleagues and have an intelligent and useful and creative discussion. I'm very happy that we introduced it, and now it's we use it for 2 years as a temporary measure, and now it's a permanent step in the decision-making process. Eurimages supports also non-European directors. This is something that I introduced myself as well. I was witnessing absurd situation whereby non-European directors that had a permanent resident status in one of the countries of Eurimages could be funded, but the permanent resident status changes from country to country. The regulation is different. So in a country like Germany that does not have 10 years ID card for non-Europeans, every year, any director could get that card that is renewable every year. In France, you need to have a 10 years card. And so there was a discrimination in legislation. I thought, what do we care about the nationality of the director if he or she lives in Europe and has been financed by producers that are established in Europe? Why are we patronizing producers on the nationality of the director? Who cares? So that has been approved and is part of Eurimages regulation since years now. I also introduced the collection account management. That is a little bit more painful, and it certainly does not give unanimity. In a nutshell, for those that are not acquainted with the collection account management, the collection account management is a service that is provided by a company that is charged by the producers and financiers to collect the revenues generated by the film. Why would Eurimages ask a company to collect the revenues and have all the monies going through one bank account that then redistributes the funds to all the stakeholders? The reason is very simple, and it's not very popular, but it's the following. Most of the films that Eurimages produce are films that do not have necessarily a big commercial success. The producers know it, and of course some of them are really small companies, and they do not have the ability to follow up the projects, meaning the performance of the project. They know that they're not going to make much money out of it because there is a distributor, there's a sales agent, everybody's getting remunerated out of the few revenues that the film is generating. They see 0 penny out of the exploitation of the film. They live out of the salaries or the fees of the film for those that do not have to give up, like we were told this morning for a couple of the Greek films. And they make the new film. They live out of fees they are budgeted, not out of the revenues of the films. Now, from a purely public fund point of view, I have no comment about this. You know, if we decided to support that film, we knew that the film was not commercially successful. Therefore, for us, that is not a problem. The problem, however, is that we need to have reports on the exploitation of the film because Eurimages gives out loans, and therefore have the obligation to know where the film performed, how it performed, and if the money has been generated, why it didn't come upstream. Producers hide, rightly so, partly at least, behind the sales agent. They say, oh, but the sales agent did not give me the reports because probably there is no, you know, there are no revenues. So since we do not have relationships with the sales agent, I cannot call the sales agent and tell them, can you give me the report of that film, because we have no legal link. So since not everybody, but most of the people in the market for some kind of films do not play the game, Eurimages force them to play it. So again, condition of support for films more than 3 million years is making sure that all the producers and all the distributors sign a multipartite agreement with a collecting agent, sales agent included, so all the money that is generated by the film does not go into the pocket of the sales agent, it goes in the pocket of the collecting agent that, open your ears, pays you in 20 days. And the average time that takes a sales agent to pay, if he or she does, is between 6 months and 1 year. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the sales agents are crooks. I think the sales agents do a fantastic job for those films, for those very difficult films that we support, and without them, Michelangelo Framartino wouldn't be sold in 40 countries. So don't get me wrong, they are an essential link in the chain of art house filmmaking. However, when it comes from, when public money is involved, I have an obligation of accountability, and I have to show my ministers and whoever gave me the money that the money is being well spent, and the reason why it was not reimbursed is because the film did not generate revenues, not because somebody is sitting on the money. That is the collection account management system. Minimum budget is 3 million euros, as I said before, and it costs 1% of the revenues generated by the film. So the sales agent remunerates itself from the revenues generated by the film, and depending on the type of film, they can ask minimum guarantee. For the biggest film is 10,000 euros that you can budget in your production budget. Eurimages has launched a call for tender to select a collecting agent that takes all the Eurimages films for a no minimum guarantee price. So there is no money advanced. There is a fixed price that is taken out of the revenues of the film, and that is 3,500. But the producer do not have to put it in the budget because it's not paid up front. It's only if the film generates revenues. The first 3,500 is taken away by the collecting agent. So it does not cost you anything, basically, especially if you decide to abandon your film, like some producers do.
You better
get the microphone.
Yeah.
If you are going to succeed in having just one collecting agent that will do all the Eurimages film, will you do this also for the budgets under 3 million or not?
The way it works is the following. For budget more than 3 million euros, the producers are obliged to have a collecting agent. They can go and choose who they want. If they want to pay 10,000 euros, they can pay 10,000 euros. If they want, they can get the Eurimages pre-negotiated agreement. The reason why I did it is because many objections from the member states when this was discussed was that in some countries, and I think Greece is one of these countries, the collecting agent system is not known, and producers were unable to negotiate the contract. So the collecting agent would charge them a high price. And I said, fine, I'm a lawyer, I can negotiate it. So we did that on behalf of the Eurimages producers, and the Eurimages producers can choose Eurimages collecting agent partner or any other they want. Eurimages has the right to impose a collecting agent for less than 3 million euros if we believe that the financing is so twisted that we know that we will not see a single penny. And it takes me 1 minute to look at the financing plan and know that I will not see a single penny there. So in the past, we were doing this systematically. Now, recently, I thought that the effort of having a collecting agent for smaller film is not worthwhile, meaning that administratively and it's time-consuming. It costs more than the benefits. So through time, I realized that it's better to not impose it. I rarely do it now. The producers can, if I don't impose a collecting agent for less than 3 million euros, but they think it is useful, they can always go and get the same conditions. They can, but there has to be an Eurimages supported film. The conditions that I'm telling you about now are very favorable conditions, meaning that for the company that has got the Eurimages contract, the collecting agent, it was, how can I put this? It was important for them to establish themselves in the art house market, so they lower the price a lot as compared to the standard collecting agent price that is more or less between 5,000 and 10,000 euros upfront paid as a minimum guarantee. So we took advantage of the fact that we are successful, so you want our films, our producers don't pay in advance. Greece and Eurimages, a little postcard about how Greece has performed. In 2012, we got 4 projects supported, of which 2 majority and 2 minority. In 2011, we had 2 films supported, and in 2010, 1, and 2009, 1. So we're increasing. The number of projects supported is, the success rate is 42.1, and this is during the last, I think, 5 or 6 years. This is a very high percentage, which makes you, some of you will think, oh, we're very successful. Yes, but the problem is that there are not sufficient films. There should be more Greek films. That's why you have such a high rate of success. The rate of success of France is lousy. But France sends like 15 films, even more sometimes. So of course we cannot support all of them. The mortality rate is high, but they come heavily to Eurimages. So my presence here and the workshop later is to encourage you to come to Eurimages. Of course, you need to have the support of the Greek Film Center and television and everybody before we enter into, we get in touch. And I know that it's not easy today, but we can start. We can try to work on this. An Italian film called Salvo, another Torino Lab creature, was in the Semaine de la Critique and won la Semaine de la Critique. That makes me very proud because among all the first-time directors that come to us, we selected the right one and won. Not only they were, they were in competition in the Semaine de la Critique, but they actually won. So don't be shy. Sometimes first-time directors have even more chance than established directors. So on average, few projects are submitted with Greek participation when compared to the average within Europe. I know that you cannot compare Greece to other countries based only on the number of inhabitants. I know that it's a very difficult moment for this country, for my own country, Italy, for Spain and Portugal. However, it's time to fully take advantage of the possibilities that are out there for you in Eurimages at least. Can I keep on going, or do you want me to stop before?
We'll give them some 10 minutes for questions.
Okay, so I can go for 15 more minutes, 20 more minutes?
You can go for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay.
It's okay with you?
Sure. If you want me to stop now, I stop now, or I can... So what kind of film do we want? As I said before, we want a visually, dramaturgically creative and innovative project. These are empty words for some of you. So I try to explain what we mean with that. We want original stories. Original stories means something that is new. A love story is a love story. A romantic comedy is a romantic comedy. But if it has not been told that way for us, it's new and is attracting our attention. I can tell you that historical characters sometimes inspire films repeatedly. And every time I hear the same comments, how is this film different from the latest one that have been made on that topic? So when I say original, that's what it means, how different it is. And when you prepare your pitch, your note of intention, you have to point out that kind of aspects. You have to highlight it, because that's what they're looking for, why it is different. Not necessarily international topics. So we said before, we do not want Euro puddings. They have to have the ability to cross border even when the topic is very local. And there is the eternal story of the genre film. Every producer asks me, do you support genre films? We do not support a genre film if it is purely commercial genre film. So a comedy, a pure comedy that is beautifully written, that you know exactly by the second that you're going to laugh, and there's a twist in the story in that moment, and so on. We're not interested in that. And that does not mean that it's not good. It means that you don't need us. We are there to finance those films that they're using the genre to experiment, and they break a little bit the rules of the genre, and they are inserting new aspects that were not maybe tried before. Then yes, we support the genre film in that case. As I said before, the script is the cornerstone of the selection, and if I had to give an advice, I don't give advice, but if I could point out a weakness of some of the problems that the southern countries have in Eurimages, is that the script is sometimes not professionally made. That does not mean, don't get me wrong, that the story is not good. That does not mean that the story is not interesting. It does not mean that the film will not be made, and does not mean that the film will not be good. However, it's a competitive selection process, and development in many countries has become priorities since years, especially in the north part of Europe. And you have people that are reading your script from different countries. They are not only the Greeks, they read it as people coming from different countries. And when they look at the script, and it's not there yet, that it needs rewriting, and there is raw material that is good, but it's not ready, the project is doomed. And you have burnt your possibility of support because you came too early. So the level of development of the script is essential. And I'm not saying there has to be poetry, because film are images, are not words, but until now, the way people select films is based on writing. So make sure it is the best quality possible, make sure that the translation is excellent. We read the English version, we don't read other languages, so it has to be professionally translated. The packaging is very important as well. The note of intention of the director is as important as the script, because it contains, as you know better than me, all the visual elements that you cannot read in the script, that you cannot find in the script. The script is a book, and you imagine the film in your mind, but maybe it has nothing to do with the film that the writer wants to make. So the note of intention is not a written psychotherapy, why you want to do the films and so on. Yeah, that is important, but the most important part is everything that is visual. The movement of the camera, the light, the colors, the atmosphere. And some producers give us the mood books, the picture of the cast, the picture of the locations. Some of them give us pilots. Only give us pilots if they're good. If they're lousy, don't give it to us. Because I've seen film, the script was good, but the repetitions, the rehearsal were so lousy that, just put everybody off. So, if it enhances the ability of understanding what the visual part would be, yes, give it to us. As I said before, the name of and the experience of the director is not a sufficient element of the film. We have turned down Lars von Trier, we have turned down big names. I remember we turned down an Italian director, during the last meeting in June. We didn't support Mario Martone. Mario Martone is perfectly unknown in Greece, but he's Deus Ex Machina in Italy. Is he well known? Okay. Well, La Repubblica wrote the day after the decision, Europe hates Italian films because Mario Martone was not supported. And when I saw the film, I thought, good. We support projects. We do not support directors. That's why first-time directors have a chance. The previous audiovisual work of the director is important because it gives us an idea of what he or she has done in the past. Some directors are coherent in their approach visually. Some directors are eclectic and each film is radically different, but it gives an idea of what he or she can do. And Europe is big. We make 1,300 films. And not everybody watches all of them. So give us a chance to look at that. What the future may hold. These are the dreams of Roberto Olla, and I'm fighting for this, and if they don't kick me out before, maybe one day they will become reality. I would love to have Eurimages enlarged to non-European countries. I think the period of the late 80s of Fortress Europe, where we were defending ourselves from the nasty, naughty Americans that were invading Europe, is finished since a long time. Producers are making films with their peers in other non-European countries, being Latin America, being North America, being Asia, Australia, whatever. And in my opinion, public institutions should be following the needs of the producers, if we can, clearly, and if it is legal. Since there are more and more co-productions made between European producers with non-European producers, I think Eurimages is very late in following that trend. On top, individual member states that are investing a lot in co-production, like France, Italy, Germany, and the UK, already have a lot of bilateral treaties with non-European countries, Israel, Argentina, India, France is even one with China. So if they do it bilaterally, why wouldn't they do it multilaterally in Eurimages? So the Board of Management in June has voted the enlargement of Eurimages to non-European countries. That is the first step towards enlargement. And now the 8th of October, I have to go to the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe and explain to the ambassadors why Eurimages wants to go international. I hope I can make myself understood. I try to simplify the message as much as I can. And if they agree, then maybe Canada, maybe Israel, maybe Brazil, maybe those countries that are interested in cooperating with us can join, bring not only fresh money, that is something we like, but also new ideas, new way of working, and instead of closing ourselves, we are opening up and experimenting also beyond our European culture. So first dream is enlargement to non-European countries. The other dream is a support for more innovative experimental films. I threw the bomb in the last Board of Management in Marseille, and it was really a bomb. because basically what I told them, and deep inside of me, it was a provocation, but deep inside of me I still believe it is true. I think Eurimages like EAVE have helped producers all over Europe to speak the same language, production language, to cooperate together, to work together, to make sure that some of the ideas could actually be made concrete and circulate throughout the continent. But it's also true that sometimes the rules of the game have trapped a bit of creativity and a bit of innovative approach. And all these treaties with this 30%, 20%, 10% cooperation and spend 150% there and do this and do that, all these complications sometimes have twisted the original creative idea behind the film. And I'm not throwing the bath water and the baby and the vasque and everything. I'm saying that we keep what we have, but we can do better than that. And I think there is something missing in Europe is a more creative, free support scheme where co-production is not defined as a bilateral treaty where minimum participation is 20% and maximum is 80%, and there is an artistic and technical cooperation that is measured through the point system and so on. I'm thinking about a true cooperation creatively and financially with between producers and artists in different countries, with smaller budget probably. They do not fit into the classic schemes, but they are innovative. I'm not talking about video art, and I'm not talking about shorts either. I'm talking about films that today, with a digital technology, can be made with 100,000 euros, 150,000 euros, and it can be really creative. And these films do not fit our regulation, and sometimes they cannot be made. And I think that the future lies there. So I'm trying to convince my board of management to find a way to finance these films. And the way to finance those films is supporting, parallel to what we do, more commercial films. Don't get me wrong, Eurimages is not going to become the new Berlusconi mecca for production. It's not commercial. We're not thinking to devote money, subsidies or soft loans to commercial films. My idea behind it, I discussed with my team and so on, was some of the mainstream commercial films knock on the door of Eurimages. And if they knock on the door of Eurimages, it's not because we are nice, it's because they need the money. And on top, if they didn't need the money, they wouldn't go through this complex decision-making process with all the papers they have to give us and so on. So if they come to us and we systematically reject them because we believe that they don't need us and so on, they're commercial, blah, 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 it means that they somehow are looking for money. If they're looking for money, we can give it to them, provided that it is reimbursed entirely, but not on the revenues generated by the film, on the first day of shooting. When they are fully financed, we do cash flow, basically, like some banks do. When that money is reimbursed, we can put it aside, and like Robin Hood does, take from the rich and give it to the poor, we can we could finance more difficult films. Now, the board of management, when I told them this in March, they were as shocked as you are now. And some of them didn't understand it, some of them thought that was crazy, and some of them thought it was fabulous. So let's see what happens. I threw the seeds, and I hope they grow into flowers in the next years.
How about among the fabulous ones?
You were among the fabulous ones, yes. I had a small fan group in the board of management, and some others, they were completely shocked. And I think I'm done.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was, I think, a very lively presentation, really. And I think you could go on
For hours,
some more time, yeah, that was very lively. But very interesting, and I even learned some things that I didn't know because I'm there for only a year now. My experience, if I can add something there, is that really what I saw in this year that I am, since October 12th that I'm in Eurimages, maybe I was lucky because these changes were introduced before I came in, though the assessment was later, how we work. Is that really, and I get on brother what a director producer said this morning, Panos Karkanevatos was speaking about fonctionnaire and the bureaucratic thing. What I saw in the remarks that really what counts is the quality and the scripts.
Yeah.
Okay, you examine if the financial viability is okay, but this is something very important, and I think it has to be stressed that there's no tricky games.
No,
It's the script, and that's all. That is, if we believe in that. Obviously, there are allegations that is, you are Cyprus, I'm Greek, I have to help you a little bit. This works a little bit, but not really. If the film doesn't work, and I had experience like this, you cannot do anything. And then I think that even a national representative, cannot be the Tarzan's mama, as they say. That is, you cannot convince somebody else for a film that doesn't work. So I would like that we take some questions, if they have. We have some 10 minutes left. And so if there are any questions, please go on, state your name and what you represent. And, okay?
I knocked them down, there are no questions.
Anyway, we have the workshop, that is the special thing in the afternoon for some of you who are registered already. Some things will be more developed there. So. Okay?
Roberto, talking about your dreams, could you imagine also something like I remember some years ago when in Hungary there was this very difficult situation that Bellatar came to you and suggested to you like to do an emergency Eurimages fund in that situation that maybe is also interesting for Greece, the moment that there's no clear, let's say, fair national funding bodies, co-productions become more or less impossible because each co-producer is always asking first for the local money and not having the local money first in place. They will not get any partners, that you can also find a way to jump into that hall and say if there's really great European projects, you can be even the first one to get in and in a way maybe even replace, and especially political complicated situations, that national money, and so then the others can go on.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. Personally, I cannot do it because I have rules to respect, and the moment in which I don't respect the rules, I'm done. I would be fired. What I can tell you is that the definition of difficulty is very relative. Greece is in difficulty in the European Union. But don't forget that we have Albania with us. And you can ask yourself, is Albania in a better situation than Greece economically? And then we start discussing in the board of management whether who is more in difficulty and who should need more support. We don't do that. What we do in Eurimages, we discuss the project. Of course, when we discuss the project, we do not close our eyes and we do not pretend we do not know how difficult it is to raise financing in certain countries, in certain circumstances. And here the national representative, the experts from the member states, of course, play a fundamental role because they are the ones who actually explain what's going on and why the television, for instance, is not confirmed, for instance. There is something that we do in Eurimages that we didn't say, and we have been doing since some times, and Thanasis here is somebody that actually provoked the enlargement of it, is the allocation, the non-proportional allocation of the Eurimages support. Let me explain, because this sounds like something terrible. In reality, it's something good. The Eurimages support, in theory, should be allocated proportionally among the producers. So if you have a co-production 80-20, 80 Italy, 20 Greece, the money should be going 80-20. However, we all know that the minority co-producer is normally the weakest one, and is the one that has the most difficulty in raising financing in his own territory, because most probably the film, in our case, would be in Italian and shot in Italy. So what we do is allow the non-proportional allocation of the Eurimages support. So the Greek producer can put more money than his or her 20% to set off, to compensate this non-proportional this difficulty between the two countries in raising financing. Thanasis, I remember in Cannes, gave me hell, literally, on a boat, and the Arte boat. It was a reception. People think that we go in the reception to have our little drink, but producers keep on working, and Thanasis did his lobbying, and Thanasis lives in Germany, as everybody knows, and Germany is a big country. And one of the rules of Eurimages was that the non-proportional allocation could not be made in favor of big countries like France, Italy, Germany, and so on. And Thanasis told me, Roberto, on a Czech film, first-time director, film shot in Czech Republic, in Czech director, I have a hard time raising financing in Germany. And Germany can be the richest country in Europe, but for this film, I find no money. So why don't you allow me to have a non-proportional allocation of the Eurimages support in favor of Germany? And I thought, why don't we do it? And I introduced it in the board of management, and it has been changed. So he's responsible for that change in Eurimages. Coming back to your question, I think introducing an exception for Greece, first of all, it wouldn't be accepted, knowing my peers around the table in the board of management, and plus it would put Greece in a difficult situation, because Greek projects, when they come to Eurimages, are good because they are good, not because they're Greek. And I think I don't think they need a troika in Eurimages helping them. I don't think this is the way to help them. The way I try to help, and we discussed with Alexis, was, for instance, the ERT is not delivering. And if it is not delivering, I could stop and say, okay, the financing is not raised, we kill the project. Of course, I know the producers are not responsible for this, and they are stuck in a situation that goes beyond their control. So I granted extension, and I don't have a hard time granting those extensions because the board of management follow the, and they understand perfectly that there is a problem, and that, we have to be more flexible.
May I ask you a question? Sorry if I take the time from somebody else, but I have a question. On the bottom line, if an institution like Eurimages, represented here by you, facing this very difficult situation Greece is going under, has the assurance from somebody like the minister or his representative, or even the minister himself, that this will take 2 or 3 months till things start running again, that there's the cash flow and everything. One could expect that you could use this argument with your board of directors to ask for some flexibility. Do you think this is possible? This
Absolutely.
could help.
Yes, I think I've done it already indirectly.
I know you've done it.
Because
and I know that you helped a lot. I didn't say it because I want to say flowers, but I know you have the volunteer and everything, but could you use this?
Oh, yes,
thing
totally.
That you were told this morning by and you will be told by the Minister of Assurance of this.
Yes, I can do it. I will do it. Of course, if I have the insurance that this is a transitory period, that waiting for the old ERT to be shut down and a new, if it is going to be shut down, and the new entity to be revamped and take over the activities of the previous one, and if that takes 3 months, 4 months. And we have the word of the minister or of the authorities that represent the televisions. Of course, we do it. I will have a hard time explaining this to the board of management, and the board of management would follow us. When the television was shut down, Eurimages sent a letter to the committee of ministers of the Council of Europe protesting about the closing of the television, because television is not only important for public opinion and for information, but it's also important for diversity in film production, and that's what we do, and we protested. So of course we would do as much as we can to help you out.
Thank you. Well, one question, or 2 questions, but that's
there was
no more. We don't have the time. We have the next.
You had a question as well,
just
right?
2 questions. No, just a minute.
Okay. The man there has been answered.
Yeah, done. Okay, so.
It was just a question. May I give the Greek press your statement that you would trust the Greek government? They will like it.
No, we'll do that. You can be sure we'll do it.
Of course.
Give it to the gentleman behind there, please.
A very common question for have your answer. A script and not a film, like Taxi Driver or Blue Jasmine, is good for you?
It would be a miracle, yes.
Yes, but I mean, it's not something, if you see the script of Taxi Driver or Blue Jasmine, it's something almost, how can I say?
Rudimental.
Yes, or a thing for everybody. I mean,
if the script is not good, no. Jean-Luc Godard sent us treatment, and that was, he believed he was the script. We said no script, no film. Jean-Luc Godard was rejected by Eurimages.
oh, I
Thank you very
understand.
much.
Sorry,
Thank you.
sorry. The question is that those scripts are very classic. That's the question. I mean, it's very classic. It's not innovative. It's not something new. If you see the script of Taxi Driver or Blue Jasmine, it's very, very classic. I mean, more classic, you die.
Yeah, I mean, the script can be classic, but then the director, we need a note of intention of the director, and the director explains what he wants to do. And then he can tell us what he wants to do in the note of intention that goes beyond the classic, dialogue script that we know. The note of intention is as important, as I said before, as the script. But we have to base ourselves on something. We cannot only trust the person. Everybody would come to us saying, we are doing something fantastic and it is original. We need to understand how. We need to have something to make a judgment upon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all for me.